Hey everyone, I wanted to touch on a topic that I haven't talked about in the past, and that's ETFs. This is a big topic. I'm going to make it as short as possible because these are fantastic tools that are available to us. They're a big hit for someone like the likes of Warren Buffett. That's who really kind of brought it to retail attention. But there's lots of big funds. There's Vanguard, there's BlackRock Capital. There's a number of different companies that have massive choices and selections of ETFs that you can buy. And the big thing about an ETF is the fact that it looks to mimic a sector that's like, say, like the Dow Jones, or it looks to mimic the financial sector or the bank sector. And you can buy a basket of these stocks without having to go and buy individual stocks and do the research on each one's for a fraction of the cost that you would even for a mutual fund. So these have gained a lot of attention and a lot of presence in the market because it's a very cost-effective way and a liquid way to enter into markets that you're not, if you're not even that pushed about doing a ton of research. We've gotten used to over the decades, really, and kind of been taught to buy baskets of goods, to buy funds, to look for managed product. And these have done well for many people because it is a fire and forget. You don't have to do a lot of research, and you can kind of, rely on other people's research. But that's changed a lot nowadays, and they certainly have their place. And for most retail clients and generalists, I would urge them to still continue looking at managed portfolios. For me, if I look at, say, a bank ETF for Canada, if I wanted to buy TD Bank or CIBC, there is, say the iShares S&P TSX capped financial index, which is a BlackRock product. That's a huge name company. It's got lots of reputation, and it's a strong product. It's a fire and forget kind of platform if you don't want to look at the specifics of each company. It also will give you a dividend and is good for a financial planning tool, which is something that I don't talk about, but once again, is something you should speak to your advisor about. And if you don't have an advisor, there are Wealthsimple advisors, there's robo-advisors. Those are for other conversations as well. My focus, though, is even with an ETF, you can look at a precious metals ETF. You can get exposure to gold bullion, to silver, and choose a derivative product like an ETF, basically a paper or a number product. Now, there is huge difference between these two products. If you actually go buy physical gold and silver, that's actually you own gold and silver. ETFs may or may not, depending on which one, actually have claim to any actual gold and silver. So it's a different risk level, and that's an important distinction between the two. I wanted to mention that because I feel it's important for people to look still at precious metals while we're in this massive flux and this massive chaotic state right now with a lot of stress. It's a good time to be looking at things like gold. And once again, the fees are very attractive in an ETF. For me, though, I'm not interested in a Canadian banking sector ETF for a number of reasons. One, I believe it's a stock picker's market. I'm interested in doing research, and I'm curious, and I find that interesting. So for me, I'm not as moved on that. What I do also wonder about is that, yes, there are a good constant stream of income because we can always rely on the fact that fees will never get lower. We're never going to have less banking fees. It's never going to be cheaper. And it's kind of like death and taxes. You can pretty much guarantee they're going to continue rising their fees. I pay an awful lot of fees for what I'm not too sure of when I simply have bank accounts at my bank. That also is in a state of change because there are a myriad of fintech solutions that are coming down the pipeline. And to be quite honest, some of our banking institutions are holding innovation back. If we look what's happening with Alipay, WeChat, with the rise of a lot of these fintech solutions, they are bypassing these traditional outdated modes of credit as well as lending and relationships with banks. There are no relationships with banks. It used to be you could go in and have a relationship with your manager, and maybe that meant something. Now it doesn't matter. It's simply all computer-based anyway. It doesn't matter if you're friendly or if you're miserable. If you go into the bank, it has no bearing. It's simply a mathematical number. Those relationships are out the door. It isn't like the 50s, whenever you had a good relationship, you could go in and make a deal and there was discretion. That doesn't exist anymore. Now, if you've got an account that's, in the hundreds of millions, sure. But for most of us, that doesn't exist. So this model is also being shifted because of the massive change that we've seen, particularly in the East and in China and in India, where fintech has led the charge, changing the way we look at banking. And I think that's why, if I'm talking about a TD Bank or a CIBC ETF, I'm not as interested. I'm just not, because there's innovation and there's things coming down the pipeline with machine learning, with blockchain, that are just simply far too advanced. And I think the more people get used to this, the more they get used to this new normal, to this change that's coming, to this great reset, they're going to see that there's a lot of opportunities that are ground floor and developing that are going to give them far better exposure than necessarily a Canadian bank sector ETF. Now, that being said, there's always a product for someone. If someone's looking for dividends, if someone's looking for cash streams because it's part of a financial planning solution, this is a great place to look. But once again, this is not my focus. Always talk to your advisor to find what's the best solution in products for you. But if you're looking for growth and you're looking for value and you're looking for the part of your portfolio that's a bit more aggressive, that's the part where I like to talk about.